Hello, everybody. This is Marcia. You're not going to be able to respond to me because you are all muted at this point. But if you do want to say hello, I believe that you can use the chat feature. So there should be a chat box on the right-hand side there. And if you want to introduce yourself and say where you serve, you can do that. And we'll wait a few more minutes for people to get logged in, and then we'll get started. Hello, everybody. This is Marcia Hazen. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm not sure if you all have the option of using the chat box. I have a chat box on my end, but maybe you all don't. So if you do have questions that come up, since you all are going to be muted throughout this presentation, you can enter your questions in the question box. And then you can also, there's a little hand raise feature, and you can raise your hand, and that way we'll know that will unmute you when it's question and answer time, so that you can ask your question over the phone or your computer, whichever way you're hooked up with your audio. All right, so we are going to get started. All right, technology already is not advancing my screen. Okay. Oh. Yay, I found it. Okay. So just kind of an overview of what the AmeriCorps Colleagues Connect program is. So basically, it's an opportunity for individuals that are serving in AmeriCorps to strengthen your knowledge of national service throughout the state of Michigan and to expand your AmeriCorps network. So this is an optional program, so I appreciate those of you who have decided to sign up. This is the very first year that we're doing AmeriCorps Colleagues Connect, so I'm excited to get your feedback throughout this process, and I hope it's something that you find to be really positive and helps contribute to your member experience. So participation in the AmeriCorps Colleagues Connect program is really intended to help you as AmeriCorps members connect with, learn from, and support another member who is serving nearby, but who's in a different AmeriCorps program. And the reason there's a little asterisk next to nearby is just based on kind of the geography of Michigan and where you all are located, because I tried really hard to kind of group members together by region, but some of our regions are larger and more geographically spread out than others. So those in the northern Michigan and the UP, for instance, your AmeriCorps Colleagues Connect may not be as close, but those of you that are in more, urban areas where there's more members serving probably will have a member that is relatively nearby that you could visit in person if that's something that you decide you want to do. All right, so the AmeriCorps Colleagues Connect program is really meant to be a professional networking opportunity and a way to build your professional development and relationship building skills. So it's all about really meeting with somebody else and establishing a connection with somebody kind of through your professional life. So during your AmeriCorps service term, your colleagues are other AmeriCorps members, but these skills really transcend beyond your AmeriCorps experience. And so it's an opportunity to really learn and develop these skills and to practice them through this program so that you can really be comfortable with building rapport, making professional connections, and building your professional network in the years to come, beyond AmeriCorps as well. All right, so what can you expect with the AmeriCorps Colleagues Connect program? Well, first off, you're going to be receiving an email probably by the end of this week from myself, Marcia Hazen, with contact information for your AmeriCorps Colleagues Connect match. I will refer to them also as your AmeriCorps Colleagues Connect partner, your colleague, your pair. I haven't really figured out what that terminology is yet, because again, this is the very first time we're doing this, and so I'm kind of learning and developing it as we go as well. Once you receive that email from me and have contact information for your AmeriCorps colleague, you should reach out to them and introduce yourself and, basically figure out how and when you want to be meeting. The pairs are able to meet either via phone, video chat, or in person, and the expectation is that you will do that once per month from January through May. And it really depends on your own, personal preferences, as well as, again, kind of how close you are geographically to one another. So if you are kind of further apart, phone or video chat is probably going to be a better option. For those of you that live close by or serve close by, it might be an opportunity to meet up either at one another's service sites or, at a coffee shop or, somewhere else in your community where you feel comfortable. And you can mix it up too. You don't have to feel like there's only one way that you have to decide to meet and you're going to do that every single month. You can kind of be flexible and determine that from month to month if that best suits your needs. So the big question is, what do I talk about, right? So I'm just giving you some ideas of things that you can start with, but feel free to kind of let the conversation develop, naturally and organically over the time that you've developed your relationship. So first of all, I think it's important to start off with kind of your AmeriCorps elevator speech or AmeriCorps elevator introduction. And so that's, talking about what program you serve in, where you serve geographically, and also what service site you serve at, maybe what kind of services that service site provides in the community, maybe outside of your AmeriCorps service, what kind of service you provide as an AmeriCorps member, so what are the service activities that you're involved in, and what all makes that up, any other services that your site or your other team members provide, There are some AmeriCorps programs where the team members all provide a very similar intervention, and there are other programs where members from the team do very diverse service. So you can provide some of that information to your AmeriCorps colleague as well. Why did you join AmeriCorps? So some of that, like the why of why you want to serve, why you are serving, and then what you're hoping to get out of your service experience overall. And that can be kind of an ongoing conversation because it may change over the course of the next 5 or 6 months. You can talk about your future career plans, any kind of goals that you might have, or anything else that you're excited about learning or sharing with your AmeriCorps colleague. I think it's important to share your successes and your challenges along the way. And again, those are going to change from month to month as well. But what's going really well? What are you proud of? And then what challenges are you dealing with? And maybe problem solve together and maybe come up with some solutions that you haven't thought of on your own. You can also share upcoming events. Again, this is a regional networking opportunity. So I'm hoping that there'll be opportunities for collaboration. You can provide ideas for collaboration, tap in and make sure that each other are aware of different things that are happening in the community, whether it's AmeriCorps or not, just to be, civically engaged in your community. And also just supporting and encouraging each other throughout your service year. So that's really what it's all about. But again, don't feel limited by this, list of questions. These questions will also be included in the email that I send out with your AmeriCorps AmeriCorps Colleagues Connect contact information, so that you're able to just kind of have something to look at to maybe drive that first initial conversation at least. So let's talk about some best practices and some things to think about as you're, starting on this journey. One is that it might be kind of awkward in your first conversation especially, and that's okay. It's totally normal. You don't know this individual and you're developing a relationship. And so things might not flow really naturally at first, and that's okay. Just give it time. But again, this is an opportunity for you to learn and practice how to build that professional rapport with somebody else and how to get comfortable with professional networking and relationship building in general. And like I mentioned previously, it's a really important skill set to master during your AmeriCorps service term, but beyond. It's going to serve you really well if you're able to master those skills. And so that's what I'm hoping for all of you, that you will be able to build that comfort level and be able to, feel confident in your professional networking capabilities. It's important, too, that you communicate any needs or preferences that you have to your AmeriCorps Colleagues Connect partner and respect your partner's request. So, for instance, if you use particular pronouns that you'd like them to refer to you as, make that known to them. How you like to be referred to. Don't make assumptions about how your AmeriCorps Colleagues Connect partner is going to be most comfortable. It's important to provide that information to them if you have those kinds of preferences or needs. And again, be respectful of any requests that come from your partner as well. It's important to keep your AmeriCorps Colleagues Connect interaction AmeriCorps-appropriate. So in the AmeriCorps world, we like to throw AmeriCorps on the front of everything. And so, everybody, comes from different backgrounds, different walks of life, and what's comfortable for you may not be comfortable for somebody else. So just, keep it AmeriCorps-appropriate, something that would be, appropriate conversation in the workplace and not, make anybody feel uncomfortable. The next thing that I want to make sure that everybody's aware of is that if you do decide that you want to meet in person and you want to do so off-site during your regular service schedule, that you need to ask permission from your program director and your site supervisors. Again, this is the first year that we're doing AmeriCorps Colleagues Connect, and I really want your program directors and site supervisors to be on board and encourage others to do this in the future. And so just keeping them in the loop and also, asking permission for things like being off-site during your service hours is important. Also, if you are going to be off-site, make sure that you're communicating that when it's happening. So on your Outlook calendar, email reminder, whatever kind of method you use at your service site to keep everybody in the know so that they're not wondering where you are and just don't realize that you're off-site meeting with your AmeriCorps colleague. All right, some other best practices to think of. So one is it's important to be responsive to your AmeriCorps Colleagues Connect partner. So basically don't ghost your AmeriCorps colleague. If they send you an email or reach out to you by phone, whatever it happens to be, respond. That's pretty basic, rules of, just communicating and being a good colleague. Also, if anything comes up, make sure that you're communicating any kind of availability changes that might take place. So, things do, change. There's last minute things that come up, but remember that everybody's time is valuable. And if you can't meet at the time that you've agreed to meet, make sure that you're communicating that with your AmeriCorps Colleagues partner, and that you reschedule that conversation that month to a time that'll work for both of you. So I guess be flexible as well if that situation comes up, and just be understanding of your AmeriCorps colleagues' time as well. The other thing is that, with any kind of networking and relationships, it's important that it's a two-way street. And so I want to encourage you to really share the spotlight. So being mindful about the amount of time that you're talking versus the amount of time that you're listening, and trying to keep that relatively even. The reason I put relatively even is because, there may be partners that one is very talkative and one is a little bit, shyer, quieter, and that's okay. You don't have to, have a stopwatch and keep it, absolutely equal. But, just be mindful and then encourage and try to, keep the conversation going in both directions, so that both of you are getting out of this experience, the same amount of benefit. Also, it's okay to vent and to problem solve together, but I'm really hopeful that we can all agree to try to keep things positive and encouraging overall, so that, people don't feel like it's kind of like a negative or, draining kind of situation. I think with that said as well, please don't, incorporate gossip or, talk negatively about your, cohorts, even if you're having like a challenging relationship with one of them that you want to work through. It's okay to bring up a challenge and mention that you're having a problem with a cohort, but maybe leaving their name out of it so that, they're not involved in this conversation. So we want to, keep things positive and not, uncomfortable for anybody. All right. So the next thing that you may be wondering is, do I get hours for this? That's the question in AmeriCorps. So the answer is probably, but don't make assumptions. So I really need you to check with your AmeriCorps program director to be sure. I have introduced the AmeriCorps Colleagues Connect program to all the state AmeriCorps programs, and I have encouraged them to, consider providing AmeriCorps service hours for your involvement in the AmeriCorps Colleagues Connect program, because I really do see it as a professional networking opportunity, and therefore it would be considered like training. So for those of you that are AmeriCorps state members, the way that you log your time in Encore is in categories, so service hours, training hours, and fundraising hours. So any hours, if your site supervisor and your program director give you permission to count this time towards your hours, you would be recording it in the training section. For those of you that are Vistas, I do not know if you record your hours the same way. So again, touch base with your AmeriCorps program directors about how they would like you to record it. And then also just be mindful that the AmeriCorps Colleagues Connect program is really designed to be a limited amount of time that you all are meeting. So pretty much 5 total hours, 1 hour each month for 5 months. And try to keep your participation kind of within reason. You may find out that you're a AmeriCorps colleague and you really jive well together, and you are excited to talk with them and interact. And you can do so kind of outside of your service hours. If you become besties, that's great. But, just because you're AmeriCorps colleagues and you've been connected doesn't necessarily mean that you can count all of your hours interacting with them towards AmeriCorps. So just be mindful that, keep it around 5 hours. It might be 6 or 7 if there's like travel time involved too. But, nobody should have like 20 hours of AmeriCorps Colleagues Connect on their time sheet. All right. The next question that you might have is, do I get paid mileage for any in-person meetings that I may have? Again, the answer is maybe, but that's really dependent on each of your AmeriCorps programs, their budgets, and so forth. So don't make assumptions. check with your AmeriCorps program directors. Again, it may be contingent on how close you are to your AmeriCorps colleague. If you're talking about, a 10 to 15 mile meetup, they might be willing to put that into the budget. If you're, an hour or two apart, for those of you that are in northern Michigan or the UP, that might not be in the budget. So just touch base with them, whether or not that's an opportunity, and then you can adjust how you want to meet based on that as well. All right, then things happen throughout the course of the AmeriCorps service year. So what if something comes up, between January and May, and either you're dissatisfied or your partner leaves AmeriCorps, you don't get along for whatever reason, you have a question, you have a concern, what do? Well, what you need to do is just reach back out to me. I'm going to be the one that's sending you that initial email with your AmeriCorps Colleagues Connect contact information. So you can always just reply back with that one, or you can, write down my email address here quickly, or my phone number. Again, we are recording this, so we will provide it to each of you. You can refer back to it as well. So as always, feel free to get in touch with me if you have any questions or concerns. If your partner leaves AmeriCorps for some reason, or things just aren't working out, there is a possibility that we could reassign you to a different individual and create a different connection. We do have a few AmeriCorps programs whose members come on later in the program year, and I know Huron Pines, for instance, has members that are starting in January, and they may be interested in participating in this program as well and may need a match in the future. So I may be asking to, connect you with somebody or kind of reshuffle things if needed along the way. And again, since this is the first time that we're ever doing this, there may be things that I haven't even thought of. And so I would love to, help you navigate through any questions or concerns that you might have. Is there anything else? Yes, there's one more thing. So again, being that this is the first time that we're providing this opportunity, I would really love your input and feedback about your experience. So really at any time along the way, if you feel like, sending me an email or giving me a call and letting me know, how this experience is working for you, or if you have any suggestions, send them my way at any point. But in May, I will be sending out an evaluation survey to everybody who has signed up to participate. Currently, we have 69 individuals who have signed up to participate in the program. So I'm really excited about that. But I do really want your feedback, ultimately thinking about improving the program long term and ironing out any kind of glitches or things that, are unforeseen. So please, give me your suggestions and your feedback. I want to know how this went for you. And again, I really hope that it's a positive experience for all of you. All right, so at this point, we are willing to take questions. I have a colleague who's also on the phone. Her name is Risa, who has been monitoring the question line, and she is able to unmute hands. So if you have raised your hand and indicated that you want to ask a question, she can unmute your line from the GoToWebinar. If you have your phone individually muted, you may need to unmute that as well to ask a question. So I will give you all a minute or so to do that.
So I'm not seeing any hands raised other than Tracy, but I see, Tracy, you typed in the chat box that you couldn't hear. So I don't know if you've received the information or if you actually do have a question. So I can try to unmute you, but. It looks like Elliot asked if they need to report anything to you, Marcia.
Not that I can think of. I mean, again, anything that you want to report to me, feel free. But there's nothing that I really need to collect. Again, if your AmeriCorps colleague ghosts you for whatever reason, they disappear off the face of the earth, they may have left AmeriCorps without your knowledge. If that happens, just reach out to me. And I can help connect you to a new individual.
Ashley asked when they will receive the name of their colleague.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to get those emails sent out in the next couple of days. My hope is to have those all out by Friday. But since this is the first time, I don't know exactly how long that's going to take me. So if I don't get to it before the holidays, it may be within the first week of January. But definitely by like January, I think it's the 3rd. But hopefully by Friday of this week. Good question.
I'm not seeing any other questions.
All right. Well, lastly, I just want to say again, thank you everybody for your willingness to participate. I'm really encouraged that this is something that seems to have resonated with a variety of individuals, and that again, I hope that your participation in this program will help you really learn about the diversity of AmeriCorps programs and members across the state and what everybody is doing, all the great service and impact people that are having. But also that it's a great support network for you as well, because AmeriCorps service can be really challenging. You may, run into bumps along the way in your service experience, and having somebody else that you can talk to candidly and problem solve with, I think, will be a really great support for you all. So thank you all for your willingness to participate. Again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out. And if you have suggestions for improving the program along the way, send them to me. Otherwise, I look forward to getting your feedback in May when I send out that evaluation survey to all of you. So I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your day and week, and have happy holidays as well. Thank you.